UFC to Bellator, from the World Series of Fighting to Invicta FC. If you're talking about it, we're talking about it. It's time to go down where the action is. This is Late Night Cageside with Tony Camps and Chase Raymond.
Welcome, fight fans, to another edition of Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. We have a great show for you guys tonight, but first off, I gotta let you know that Chase Raymond is not with us tonight. He had a family emergency, so you get just me, Tony Camps. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. We got the UFC on FX8. We got two great guests. We got Saad Awad coming on tonight, and we also have Brett Hlavacek from Glory 9. Two great guests that were coming up. But first, we're gonna break down the UFC on FX8 card, and let's get that started right about hold on now, it's just me, so you got to deal with this. So we're going to break down the UFC on FX8 card now. Rafael Natal versus Joel Zeffirino. This fight was a actually not too bad fight to watch. It started off pretty good for Joa. Unfortunately for him, he expelled all of his energy right away in the first round, and you could totally see that when it went into the second round. Now, unfortunately, the first round was really exciting to watch, fun to watch, a lot of striking. Joa was looking really good. It went into a 50-50 guard that you never see. Usually when you see it, you don't see it where it's to the point of, you don't see them doing it for more than 2.5 minutes. Usually it's about 30 seconds and then they move out of it. But that's just not what happened in this one. And unfortunately for Joa, he had an adrenaline dump going into the second round. Natal did just enough in the second and third round to take the victory, and Rafael Natal defeated Joel Zeffirino by decision. That took us through the controversial fight of the night. Rafael dos Anjos versus Evan Dunham. Dunham got robbed in this fight. There's no getting around this. Even Dana White, after the fight ended, tweeted out that Dunham got robbed. Evan Dunham, to me, won all 3 rounds. He did more striking. It took him a while in the first round to get it going, but you could have given the round to Dos Anjos in the first, but either way, the second and third round was all Evan Dunham. Now, when you went to the fight metrics, you saw that the striking was pretty close to one another, but still, nonetheless, it was still Evan Dunham's rounds. So, especially in the second and third, especially with the takedowns, when you put in the striking and the takedowns and everything together. In the second round, they had about equal striking, but the takedowns were more in the favor of Dunham. In the third round, the striking outweighs what Dos Anjos did. Evan Dunham dominated the third and the second round. Should have won that fight. He got screwed. Rafael Dos Anjos, not only did he win, he won a unanimous decision. All 3 judges scored at 29-28. Very, very odd. And then we got to see the UFC debut by Jacare Souza versus Chris Camozzi. This was a pretty, I wouldn't say a boring fight, but it was a fight that you knew the outcome before it started. You knew it was how it was going to end. You knew that it was just a matter of time before Souza went in there and got the submission victory. Unfortunately for Chris, he tried everything he could, but as soon as this fight got to the ground, it was just a ticking time of when Souza would get the submission. And when Camozzi let him get on mount, you knew it was over. And he even did, when they got the arm triangle choke in on him, he put his arm up, to answer the phone. He did a great job of defending it, but it was so tight, and Souza's so good that he went limp almost immediately, and it was a really great debut for him, and it showed that he's going to be a force in the middleweight division. That took us to the main event of the night, Vitor Belfort versus Luke Rockhold. A spinning heel kick a la Uriah Hall from Tough 17. TRT, though, is overshadowing this victory. And that's a shame. That's a real shame, and we're going to talk about that. But it definitely does do a couple things for Vitor now. He's now 5-2 in the UFC since his return. His only 2 losses have been to John Jones and Anderson Silva in title fights. Obviously, the Anderson Silva fight ended in the first round with that front kick that knocked out Vitor, and then a great fight with John Jones where he almost armbarred himself into a victory. Almost broke John Jones' arm. So, I mean, just great fights. The fact that Vitor hasn't lost in 7 years plus tells you a lot about this guy's ability and skill set. Even though he is an aging fighter, he's still in the prime of his career. He looked great, and I don't care what people say. Again, we'll talk about TRT in a minute here. But he looked good, and I thought it was great. And this is actually what he had to say after the fights.
I mean, how frustrating is it that every time you do something good, people just want to ask you about testosterone and how much that's playing in your life? And can you just address that?
Can somebody beat him up for me, please? Can somebody beat him up?
I'll tell you what, TRT didn't land that kick
tonight. Você é chato, hein, bicho? Você é chato pra caramba, meu irmão. Pô, vai catar coquinho.
Fair enough. I apologize. Luke, you did make a comment there. I know you'd been outspoken. It sounded like you said that wasn't credit for the kick.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. TRT had nothing to do with that kick. It was good.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And Vitor, do you feel like you deserve the title shot at this time?
Now, at this point, this is at the presser after the fights, and Vitor refuses to talk to this reporter. And the person running the post-fight press conference says, well, I'll ask you the question. He's like, no, I don't want to talk to this guy. Now, this is the problem here with Vitor Belfort. The only problem I had with him is that he should have talked to the reporter about what was going on. Now, after the fight, though, the one that I didn't want to play that one yet, but after the fight, this is what he said in the ring when he was interviewed by John Anik directly after he had some good comments that I want to play for you guys.
It's first important, okay? I want to thank everyone. I'm stronger than ever as I was before, but as then. And appreciate all the love, the fans. Without a team, I have a great team in Black Zenith. I want to give all the glory to God, but all my trainers here, Henry, Kenny, Gilbert Green, Pedro, Glenn Robinson, who put up a great team, Black Zenith. Everyone at Black Zenith, all the boys. Pedro Dias, oh amigo, estou com muita saudade tua. Para ti, grande nocaute nessa noite, uma patada e consequência de golpes. You know, it's this. I'm here to fight. I don't pick fights. I accept fights. The fans decided, Dana White, and you know, I'm very happy. I'm going to root for Anderson. You know, Brazil's doing a tremendous job. You know, we're going for some hardships in Brazil. Brasil é muito difícil, estamos torcendo pro Anderson para vencer.
Now, he just continued to talk in Portuguese, and they weren't giving very good translations, so I'm not going to continue to play that. But he said some really interesting things in that. We'll break those down. He says he wants Anderson Silva to win. I really think he wants that rematch with Anderson Silva, and I think it'll be a better fight this time in their rematch. But he puts up a great victory. He does shows everybody in the world that he's still around in the middleweight division. He's still a force to be reckoned with. And that takes us to who we feel it was the spotlight fighter of the event. And the spotlight of the event was pretty obvious. That's right. Our spotlight fighter of the event was Vitor Belfort with that spinning heel kick, and then following up with some strikes. He dominated Luke Rockhold, showed that again he is going to be a force in the middleweight division, and that he should get the next shot in the middleweight division. Because I mean he's since Anderson Silva fight with him, he is I believe 3-0 in the division. So he definitely deserves the next shot in the middleweight division without a doubt. So that takes us to the next interesting situation that's going on right now, and that is with TRT. It's being overshadowed. It's overshadowing this victory for Vitor Belfort, and I don't think it's fair. People are talking about it. Nobody else talks about it. I mean, why should it overshadow his victory? It's like Luke Rockhold said, you know, TRT didn't kick me in the face. That TRT is not the reason why that kick landed. No, TRT is not the reason why. But people are constantly jumping down Vitor's throat for using TRT. There are how many other fighters in MMA right now that do TRT? You have Dan Henderson, you have Chael Sonnen, and other fighters, but nobody's getting on them. Nobody's talking about Chael Sonnen being on TRT when he fought John Jones or when he fought Anderson Silva. It wasn't talked about after those. Maybe it would have been talked about if he won. But the fact that he didn't, you know, is that why? Be like, oh, the TRT guy lost. No big deal. All right. Ooh, good. We can move on. What about Dan Henderson? Same thing. Dan Henderson's been on TRT for years. Years. and nobody says anything to him. Now, I'm a big fan of both fighters. Okay, so that's not taken away from them. But the fact is that why is it so bad that Vitor Belfort's on TRT and these guys get a pass? You know, obviously Dana White's got a problem with it. He's always had a problem with it. You know, I mean, this is something that Dana White said. He said this a while back, but this is something he said.
There were some situations in the UFC where it just got to the point where I said, you know what, this is bullshit. I don't like it anymore. At one point, I was like, hey, listen, it's sports medicine. It's legal, the commission, da-da-da. And now, if you're a guy that's not on TRT, you're just a naturally gifted athlete doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is just training, eating right, and doing all that stuff. And you know that you're going in against a guy who is on TRT, and he got the exemption for it. And you're probably thinking this guy's probably been at this level his entire training camp and now leveled back off to here, you know, to fight me. It's unfair. You're stronger, faster, more explosive, all the same results you'd get from doing a performance-enhancing drug, right? And the recovery ability. Like, after you train, your recovery is a lot faster, especially if you're jacked up on that stuff.
Again, you're listening to Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. So Dana White says that, oh, hey, I don't want TRT to be used. I don't want TRT to be used anymore. It's BS. You know, fighters aren't, it's not fair. But he said that he would start testing them. Yeah, anybody who's on TRT, we're going to test you. We're going to test the hell out of you. Okay? Now, this fight was in Brazil. Okay? There's no governing body there. There's no athletic commission, so the UFC acts as their own. And so they're the ones doing the testing. So, are they testing? I don't know. You know, but why? I mean, why does Belfort get the blunt of the bad talk? Now, is it because because he has a positive steroid test in his past? Is it because in 2006 he tested positive for anabolic steroid for hydroxytestosterone? Okay, that's what he tested positive for in 2006. It was, I believe, with a Dan Henderson fight. Is that why he gets the blunt of it? Because he's a known steroid user, even though he fought that test? Said it wasn't real? I mean, obviously, anybody who gets busted for using steroids, most likely they used, okay? And now everybody who says, well, if you're on TRT, it's because you abuse steroids. Okay, well, that's not fair to say because you don't know. He's only tested positive once in his entire career. He hasn't tested positive multiple times. He hasn't been suspended multiple times. You know, this isn't the case of where, like, Nick Diaz, who's been suspended multiple times for using marijuana. This is a guy who got tested once, 7 years ago, and tested positive. 7 years. And we're going to hold that against him because he uses something that's legal, a legal usage to keep himself at the same level of a normal mid-30s guy. Because that's what they base it on. They base it on your age. Not what a 20-year-old would be at. What your age, what the normal testosterone range of your age, that's what you have to be at, that ratio. You can't be what a 20-year-old would be. It's what your age is. Now, I've seen some sites put on there, well, look at his body. Well, look at his body. One, first off, when they show a picture of him, I didn't see a six-pack. I mean, you could see that he's definitely ripped up. He's a ripped man. But I know guys like that who are in their 30s that are ripped, and they don't use steroids. They don't get TRT. And so because he's on TRT, it's now an unfair advantage. They're keeping them at the same level as what he should be at. Why should that overshadow his victory? He beat Luke Rockhold fair and square inside the octagon. And not only that, but the guy that he beat, Luke Rockhold, even defended him afterwards. Now, this is the same Luke Rockhold that said that TRT is wrong. And that this is the same Luke Rockhold that said that Vitor Belfort is using steroids, that he must be on something. And he even said, TRT didn't kick me in the face. Vitor Belfort did. I think people need to get off of Vitor Belfort right now and start to realize that this guy's just a talented fighter. Is he on TRT? Who cares, man? Who cares? Dan Henderson's on TRT. I don't see a big backlash on him. Chael Sonnen's on TRT. The only backlash I see on him is because he failed his test back against Anderson Silva after the title fight. But people still say that Anderson Silva got his ass whipped when they talk about that fight. Chael Sonnen fans will say, Anderson Silva kicked his ass for 4.5 rounds. I see Anderson Silva fans, well, yeah, because he was on steroids. Well, he was on steroids the second fight, too. He was on TRT. It's the same thing. But the only person that seems to get the blunt of this is Vitor Belfort. And I don't think that's right. Vitor Belfort is a great fighter. His record shows it. 23-10. He's fought the best of the best. And he's beaten a lot of them. And it looks like he's lined himself up. He's lined himself up for a middleweight shot. And if Anderson Silva gets past Chris Weidman, man, forget these super fights, man. I want to see that. I want to see Vitor Belfort, Anderson Silva too. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. I want to see that fight. Again, you're listening to Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. Our next guest is coming right up. It's going to be Brett Hlavacek from Glory 9. And our next guest here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. He is a kickboxer that's Muay Thai, and he's taken off right now. His name is Brett Hlavacek. How are you doing tonight, Brett?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing real good. It's just me tonight. Unfortunately, my co-host, he had a family emergency, couldn't be here, so it's just me and you tonight, Brett.
All right.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm 29. I've been training Muay Thai for 12, 15 years now. Started early when I was 11, and I live in New York City. I teach full time at Phil Nurse's gym, the Watt in New York, and I've been fighting full time for the past, 4 years.
What got you into Muay Thai?
It was like the natural progression. When I was 4, I started Taekwondo. By the time I was 11, I wanted something a little more contact-oriented, and kind of ran into the right people, and then the rest is kind of history.
Now, tonight we've been talking a lot because obviously this last weekend was the UFC on FX8, and Vitor Belfort, that spinning heel kick that got Luke Rockhold. Did you get to see the fights?
I didn't see the fight, but I definitely saw I didn't see all the fights. I saw the highlight, though. That kick.
So what a sick kick, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, unfortunately for Vitor is that, he can't relish in his victory. A lot of people have to start talking about TRT and PEDs.
Yep.
And obviously that's going to be an issue with him because he is on the exemption list. I wanted to ask you, do you see that a lot in Muay Thai with your kickboxing and other people and when it's just, it's just a kickboxing event?
Not really, honestly. In reference to the PEDs, I don't think they're that. I mean, I'm sure there are guys that are doing them, but it definitely seems like it's more involved in mixed martial arts where there's more money involved. There's more, it's definitely a little bit bigger of a stage. Some new promotions are coming around now for kickboxing, like Glory, and in the past K1, we're finally offering big purses for people. So I think as the money gets bigger, you may start seeing a little more of that just to get that edge. But, there's not one pill or, a needle that you can take to give you technique, though. It's something you got to do on your own.
Oh, definitely. And that was something that Luke Rockhold actually talked about. He said that, hey, TRT didn't kick me in the face. So, it can only give you so much.
Absolutely. Now,
you've started to make a name for yourself, and we're going to get into that pretty soon here. But first, tell us, what's it like to train under Phil Nurse?
Oh, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I came from New Jersey in about 5-6 years ago, and I was just training kind of part-time. And he kind of took me in and started training. He took me under his wing, gave me a job at his gym, and kind of just mentored me through the whole process. He's great. He's amazing. He always has something to offer. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
When you watch any of his old fights, I mean, obviously the guy is flashy, confident, powerful when he's in the ring. And you watch him, he kind of looks like, I mean, maybe you could tell him I said this, he looks like a kickboxing Roy Jones Jr., the way he fights. Very confident in the way he throws, powerful punches. There was one fight where I saw he threw like 3 leg kicks in a row and the guy checked him, and then he threw a head kick and knocked him out. It was insanely awesome. What?
He's an extremely gifted athlete. Some of that stuff you can't teach. He just has those reflexes and the explosiveness.
And that's what I wanted to ask you. Do you think you take after him? Has his flashiness and confidence and powerfulness, I mean, obviously the power is not going to be able to rub off on you, but has the flashiness and the confidence, has that rubbed off on you when you go into the ring?
I think a little. I just kind of naturally gravitated to that style of fighting too. You always want to root for the more exciting guys. So I always try to put on a show. I mean, it's a fight, but it's also a show. So people are going to, definitely tune in or buy a ticket to your fight if you actually put on a show and, put asses in the seats, I guess.
And that's exactly a great point right there. I mean, Muay Thai is an extremely fun sport to watch. I mean, that kickboxing, the way, the striking, the angles, the movement, everything about it is really fluid and fun to watch. And you're going to see a lot more striking. A lot of people will enjoy that. Why do you think it's not in the mainstream here in the States?
I think it's on its way, but Muay Thai isn't super. The normal person in the United States isn't going to tune in and watch Muay Thai and listen to this crazy music. Some of the history behind it they can't identify to. So I think a company like Glory, who's bringing kickboxing to the United States, and they're branding it as their own thing. It's not Muay Thai. It's not strictly kickboxing. It's a mix of everything. And it's definitely, shorter rounds. I think it's going to appeal to people a lot more than, say, traditional Muay Thai, which is my love. But, I mean, right now I'm fighting for Glory.
Again, we're talking to Brett Hlavacek here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. Now, MMA is super popular right now, obviously. It's going into the mainstream. The UFC is finally on, just regular antenna TV. You can get it on Fox now on their events. But people, you seem to see this when the fights are going on. People hate grappling. They hate it. When you see people go to the ground, you hear booing. They only want to see people on their feet, which makes me wonder, again, and this may be just like a follow-up to that last question, it makes me wonder, why don't people like to watch the Muay Thai and kickboxing? It just doesn't make sense to me, because that's what they want to see in fights.
Yeah, like I said, it's not so much like actually watching a fight, but I think it's the traditional and the cultural stuff behind it too. I mean, like I said, when you watch an authentic, Muay Thai fight in Thailand or wherever, they do play music that goes along with it, and I don't think that's the most appealing music to some people. But I also just think you got to get the right people behind it. There's not enough money in it right now for it to really take off and people to pump money into it and build it up. Right now, that's just starting to happen. So I think give it a couple of years, and I think it's going to definitely pick up.
Now, there are guys on Glory that are making the transition and actually fighting on both Muay Thai, kickboxing, as well as doing mixed martial arts. Is there anything in the future for you in that corner?
Not in my immediate future. I don't. Right now I'm concentrating on just holding my own and Glory. I wrestled all the way through high school, and I was pretty decent. I was competitive, and I liked it, but I always came back to Muay Thai. Now that I'm 29, if I wanted to make a successful transition, I would definitely want to, obviously, be rolling a lot, and, that's going to take away from my Muay Thai and that career. I don't think I have the time for that right now. Right now it's kind of like the middle of my career.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. People who, I really think that if you're going to go that full route, I mean, you have to be, either you got to have a really, really strong wrestling base already that you don't even have to train it. You can just keep doing what you're doing. Because if you had to go to MMA or wanted to go MMA, I think that you'd have to give up that Muay Thai career. I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, it seems like the days of just the stand-up fighter in mixed martial arts, knocking out dudes are kind of over. I mean, you got to be good at everything. And the same goes for wrestling and jiu-jitsu guys. They got to learn how to stand up too. So it takes a lot of time, and that's something that, if I had 5 or 6 years, younger, that would be something I would probably, take up or check it out.
Yeah, I mean, again, going to MMA. I mean, it would be cool. It would definitely be cool to see you go that route, because you have some really sick striking, and I'd really like to see you in the cage against some of these other guys who are strictly strikers. I think it would be fun to watch. Now, you got a big fight coming up here at Glory 9. It's at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York on Saturday, June 22nd. You're taking on Paul Morfort. What's he bringing to the table?
Honestly, right now I haven't really paid too much attention to who I'm fighting right now. It's just getting myself ready. But what I have seen, he's a good, solid Muay Thai fighter. He fought internationally a lot. He fought with full rules, which means elbows and knees, but that's not the case in this fight. And he's definitely a little more rangier. He may have a little height on me, so I'm just kind of planning for a taller guy.
Now, you did, in your last 2 fights, you had a unanimous decision win, and you had a 41-second knockout. 2, completely opposite at the end of victories. What's it like when you go into a fight? You're preparing for a full-length fight. I mean, that's what you prepare for. But you go in there, you beat the guy in the first round, first minute, you knock him out. I mean, what is that? I mean, do you have does that? Are you happy, or are you like, man, I just wasted 9-10 weeks of my life preparing for a war, and I knocked this guy out in 41 seconds?
It's an amazing feeling, and 2 different feelings. I fought in Madison Square Garden, I want to say maybe about a year ago, and it was a 40-second knockout also, and I was super excited, but I was also at the same time man, I wish I could have kind of maybe went 2 or 3 rounds just to see where I was at, and maybe try to work on some more stuff. So yeah, there's that little upset, but this last Glory fight, having that 40-second knockout was amazing because I had to fight 2 more times, so I just wanted to get immediately back in the locker room and kind of cool down, rehydrate. There was no real time to celebrate. It's kind of sour.
Right. That's one of those nights where it's got to keep rolling, just got to keep rolling. I mean, how did you do that? Because you have this huge, because when you knock somebody out, you have to have this huge uplifting adrenaline rush. And then when you get back into the back, you're going to have an adrenaline dump. And all of a sudden, it's ugh.
That was one of the biggest things I was preparing for, was just riding those emotions and feeling that dump. And it's just all about, we kind of got the job done in the first fight. Now it's all right, let's go back, relax, kind of slow things down, and we got to start over again. So it's an interesting experience, the tournaments.
Yeah. Which would you rather do, Brett? Would you rather do tournaments, or would you rather do get ready for one fight in a night and that's it?
Honestly, it's obviously fighting 2 times in one night is definitely, it could be hard on the body, but it keeps it new and it keeps it refreshing. You got to kind of game plan a little different. You don't want to go out there right away and start banging it out. You want to be smart because you got to fight, 2 more times. But if you see an opportunity to get that knockout, you got to take it, because then that makes your night that much shorter. I also like a 5-round, world title fight drawn out,
Oh, yeah. Title fights are always the best. Again, we're talking to Brett Hlavacek here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. Now, how does your family feel about you doing this as a profession, fighting?
My family?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. My mom has been my number one fan. She's supported me my whole career. My father is happy with it. He goes to all my fights. They love it. But, at first, he was not too keen on it. I didn't go to college. I didn't go that route. And, he didn't really know what the hell I was doing. Now he's finally starting to see it pay off, and I think he's excited about it. And there seems to be a future.
That's awesome, man. Having family support is always the number one goal. And the fact that they come to, does your mom come to all your fights?
Yep. She goes to all my fights. I fought in England last year. She traveled to England with me. It was fun. Oh,
that's awesome, man. That's super cool. So when you're getting ready for a fight, how far out do you start getting ready for the fight, training wise?
These bigger fights now, I'm getting definitely a lot more notice. So 6 weeks, a good 6 weeks training camp is pretty much my perfect scenario. But a lot of times you don't have that, so you got to kind of either be ready or you're going to throw together a quick couple-week camp. So 6 weeks would be perfect for me.
And when you're going through the 6 weeks, and I've seen I've seen MMA fighters train, and obviously there's striking and then there's grappling and all that. Obviously, you're just working the pure striking aspect of it. But how many times a day do you train just your striking?
Here's the thing, when a lot of these MMA guys come into town and they kind of come into our gym, whether they're working with Phil or I get to work with them and spar with them, they're doing 3 or 4 workouts. We just finished a 2-hour workout, and they're like, all right, I'm going to go Now I want to work my jiu-jitsu. Like, that's crazy. I work, I do a 2-hour workout, which is my regular striking workout, whatever it is we're working on that day. And then I do a fitness, just a run. And then mixed in there, different workouts, different days, like some weights, some definite, more conditioning stuff, but I'm not working out like 4 or 5 times a day or going to this guy, going to see that guy. It's all in one place. It's great.
Now, when you said that some MMA guys come in, who are are there any big name fighters that have come in that you've trained with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a regular sparring partner with George St. Pierre, Sapo, Rafael Natal. Who else has been in? We have Ricardo come through. Frankie comes through once a week. We got a ton of guys working with Phil. I don't get to work with. I mean, I moved around with Frankie once or twice, but I'm a lot heavier than him. But like I said, when George comes in, I get good sparring with George.
And what do you think? Do you think George St. Pierre? I mean, he's known as one of the better strikers in mixed martial arts. Do you think he could hold his own in a kickboxing match?
I think so.
How much power does he have?
It's sparring. We're not trying to knock each other out.
Oh, of course.
100. We're not going 100%, but no, there's definitely times where he caught me, and I was like, "Well, it was a good shot." He's just incredible, just like Phil, an amazing athlete. You show him something once, and he's already doing it. He picks up things super quick.
Yeah, again, we're talking to Brett Hlavacek here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. There was actually a YouTube, not to go off of you here a little bit, off of the subject of you, but there was a YouTube video that I saw of George St. Pierre with Joe Rogan, where Joe Rogan is teaching him the spinning back kick. And I'm like,
on the bag, right?
Yeah. You've seen this?
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
So, one, I don't know if it's real, because you have a comedian who, I mean, he is a black belt. I do know he's a black belt in, I believe, Taekwondo. But I get that but you're seeing a guy who's a professional fighter being taught by a comedian how to do a spinning back kick. It's just kind of humorous to me. And George St. Pierre is like, oh, man, look at this. I'm really learning a lot from you.
It's kind of funny. I think George is also, he's a professional, and everybody has something to teach, I guess. He's pretty humble that way. Even if it was a joke or was lighthearted, he's still, somebody can teach you,
Did you learn?
Everybody has one thing to teach,
Yeah. Did you learn anything from him when you guys sparred together?
Nothing in particular that I was working on. I was mostly there just to kind of, be his dummy, but no, he just gave me different looks, and which is good, always change things up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, going back to you and your fight that's coming up, it's going to be an interesting fight between you and Paul. And I know that I asked you what is he bringing to the table, but what exactly are you going to be training for? I mean, are you going to train anything specific? When you said you don't think about who you're fighting, you just start training. Is that how you go into every fight? You just like, hey, I don't care who I'm fighting, I don't care what style they're bringing. I'm going to train my way, and I'm going to go in there and fight my fight.
I mean, that's kind of the truth, but like I said, right now I'm not too concerned about what he's doing. I'm not watching tape every day. The last 2 weeks, that's when we kind of we'll start game planning. Unless they have something huge that we know about that we have to train for ahead of time. Right now, it's just all about me. I just do my regular workouts and, what I have to work on for my last fight, what I did wrong, how can I improve myself? And then, like I said, 2 weeks before, I'll start looking at tape, and then we can start kind of formulating a game plan. The thing is, everybody's different. So he may do something with one guy in his last fight and then come out and he might be a totally different fighter.
Well, yeah, and I'm excited to see this fight. I'm excited for this entire card. It looks like it's pretty cool and it's going to be an entertaining. I got to see. Awesome. Yeah, it's going to be an awesome night of fights. I mean, anybody who's into kickboxing, Muay Thai, striking, if you guys are into striking and that's what you want to see, definitely, yeah, Glory 9 is going to be a great card.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, and they're going to be putting on one in LA soon too. I mean, they're really taking time and trying to promote the sport and their brand in the United States, which is going to be awesome.
Now, Brett, we always end every interview, and I want to thank you for coming on and talking to us here on BJPenn.com.
Hello?
Yes, I'm still here. I want to thank you for coming on and talking to us here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com. And what we do is we always end the interviews the same way. We do what's called a 10-second knockout. We ask you 5 questions. You just give us a quick answer to them, and and we go from there. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Number 1, what is your favorite movie?
Favorite movie would have to be Anchorman.
All right. Favorite food?
Pizza.
What age did you get into your first fight?
11.
If you could fight one historical figure, who would it be?
One historical figure. I always get asked this one, and I never know what to answer. Pass. We're going to have to pass that one. I can't.
All right, I'm going to give you a pass. I'll give you a mulligan. If you were stranded on an island, what's the one item that you would have to have with you?
Oof. My fiance.
Nice. That's it, man. And that's the 10-second knockout. Hey, again, Brett, thank you for coming on here. We always love having to talk to fighters. You know, like I told you when I texted you before, I love talking to fighters. Yeah. It's one of my passions. I love I love fighting, period. It doesn't matter if it's kickboxing, Muay Thai, you know, it don't matter. Mixed martial arts, whatever. But I want to thank you for giving us the time. But now what we're going to do is we always give the time right back to you. This is your time, brother. You go ahead and take as much time as you want. You can thank your sponsors, your family, your friends, whoever you want. It's your time, bro. Go ahead.
All right. I just want to thank my trainer, Phil Nurse. I want to thank Susan and Mike Reno, my fiance, Kim, and my mom and dad, and everybody at the Watt Gym in New York City. That's pretty much it. No sponsors, nothing.
All right, look at that. Brett Hlavacek, he's got a big fight coming up against Paul Morford on Glory 9. It's in the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York, Saturday, June 22nd. Good luck to you, Brett. I hope you get a victory, and we can talk to you again after the fights.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good one.
Hey, you too, Brett. Have a good night.
All right, man. Bye.
And there you have it, Brett Hlavacek. What a great guy. I mean, this guy has a great career ahead of him in kickboxing. If he decides to go MMA, I mean, and he's got the striking to do it. And, you know, he's 8-1 with 3 KOs. The guy is just a phenomenal striker, and he's learning from one of the best in the business in Phil Nurse. And if you don't know who Phil Nurse is, you go to YouTube. You YouTube that name, Phil Nurse, and you will see some highlight videos of striking that is amazing. So, again, Brett Hlavacek, Glory 9, Hammerstein Ballroom, New York, Saturday, June 22nd. Make sure you guys watch it because it's going to be a barn burner. All right, and our next guest here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com Radio, was a finalist in Bellator Season 8 lightweight tournament. He comes with a stellar 14-5 record, 6 knockouts, 6 submissions. It is lightweight Saad Awad. How are we doing today, Saad?
Hey, I'm doing great.
I know we had a little problem there trying to get this going here with the service on your cell phone provider. I won't make you say who it is, but maybe it's time to go with a different cell phone if you got to go outside to make a phone call.
Yeah, well, I'm actually in Las Vegas right now. I was at the Bellagio, and I don't know what was going on. I was trying to answer, and it wouldn't answer it. So I ran outside right now. I'll have to interview later. But yeah, it's my fault.
Oh, don't worry about it. No big deal. You're at the Bellagio. You doing any gambling?
Trying not to.
You don't want to give your money away too much, right?
Not yet, at least.
Now, you've been fighting for some time now. What got you into fighting?
I've been asked this question a bunch of times. I kind of walked into a gym by accident. I have a little brother that was getting into trouble at the time, about 8 years ago, and he liked to fight. So I said, okay, you want to fight? I'm going to sign you up in a boxing gym. And the only gym I could find in the area was the MMA gym. So I stumbled into one by accident, and he was like, I'm not training by myself unless you stay with me. I was like, all right, cool. And one thing led to another. I saw my first pro fight like 3 months after training.
So really, you have your brother to thank for your run and success and your now profession.
Yeah, you can say that.
Now, how does the rest of the family feel about you fighting?
My dad was against it at first because he was like, you got to work, you have your future ahead of you. You don't want to stop playing games. He thought it was just a sport, like I was just doing it for fun. And I kept telling him like, hey, I'm pretty good. When I first started, I was like, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty athletic, and I don't know how soon money's gonna come in, but like I love doing it. So when you do something you love, you do it, really good. You give it your all. I knew sooner or later it would pay off. And, after some time, he gave up telling me to quit. So finally, I finally got to tell him, like, hey, I'm finally making money doing this. So he's excited about it.
Now, when I talk to fighters, they always tell me the same thing when I ask, hey, how's your family feel about it? Usually they'll always say, my mom's my number one fan, but my dad was against it. And then when he started seeing that I'm doing well in it, then he started to accept it. It's funny when it's always the dad that it seems like they're like, maybe you should think about doing something other than something that results in you getting punched in the face for a living.
Yeah, it's funny. So you'd think you'd be the mom, but no, yeah, you're right. It's the complete opposite. My mom was all up for, like, oh, cool, my son fights, and then my dad was like, no, go to work. You're wasting your time.
Yeah, right. Now, you going into the Season 8 lightweight tournament, you were riding a streak that most people would be jealous of. You had won 6 in a row, and you had finished every one of your opponents. You had 4 KO by 4 wins. 4 of your 6 wins were by KO or TKO. The other 2 were by submission. Only one of those fights got out of the first round. I know you got to be humble when you have a streak like that, but man, that's impressive. Were you impressed with yourself?
You know what? It's funny is I never really noticed it. Like, I know it's weird to say that, it could be probably I'm lying, but I never really noticed my streak until people started bringing it up. Like, hey, after I knocked out, Brooks, they're like, hey, man, you're on a 6-fight winning streak with all finishes and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, my record's still, it's actually 15 and 4 at the time, but it says 14 and 4. But at the time, and I was like, well, my record's still not what I want it to be. So I wasn't looking at my streak. I was looking at just building my record because I'm not happy with my record. I never really caught my eye that, hey, I'm on a pretty good streak right now. You know what I mean? I was just more about, let me keep winning so I can build my record and get up to the 20s and 4 or 20s and 5. Then I can be a little bit happier.
Now you said your record's 15 and 5, Raul?
Yeah. They're missing one of my older fights.
Oh, okay.
A couple years back.
So SureDog and Wikipedia, they need to get on top of their game, right?
Yeah, SureDog actually, I told them about it. They're like, okay, just give me the information. And, I called the organization. I was like, hey, can you give me the fight card that I fought on? I'm like, oh, okay, I will get back to you. And they never did. So it's not SureDog. It's the organization never, sent it in. So
you have a phantom win out there.
Oh, yeah. It's just hanging out there somewhere, right?
Right. No, exactly.
It's funny. It's a first-round submission, too.
so it's not only is it a victory, but it's a finish.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
That's crazy. Again, we're talking to Saad Awad here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. Now, again, you're coming into the finals on that huge winning streak. You're feeling good. Again, what I think, like I said, only one of those fights came out of the first round, and then not only that, but like 3 of your fights ended in the first, or 4 of your fights ended within the first minute. So you were seriously dominating people, like I just said. But you go into the fight, and then the first round, you look just like you did in the previous 6 fights, dominating everywhere the fight went. And then the second round came. What happened?
Well, I broke my hand in the first round. I'm sure, everybody already knows. I broke it early into the first round, so I started wrestling a little bit. And then, I told my corners again, because it happened before. When I fought back in Strikeforce, I broke my hand, too, in the first round. And I remember telling my corners, like, hey, my hand's broke. And they thought I was just being, I was just tired. They're like, nope, you're doing good. Go back out there. So they sent me back out, and then I ended up losing that fight. So it happened again this time. So I told my coach, like, hey, dude, my hand's broke again. Same hand, And he looked at me, he's like, oh, shoot, we're going to, just, okay, now let's just wrestle him. You're winning with your wrestling. Just go take him down and try not to use it. But in between rounds, I caught my win, and my adrenaline really went down, and I just felt pain. But it really sucked, you know what I mean? But I went out there, and I wrestled, my ass off just to try to steal the round, and, I stole it. And then 10 seconds, into the last 10 seconds of the second round, I get dropped, and I guess the referee thought I wasn't able to get back up, so decided to call a fight.
Now, that I wanted to ask you about, that was actually the next thing I want to talk to you about, is the beginning. Again, you dominated the first round. You easily won it against David Rickles there at the Bellator Season 8 Lightweight Tournament Finals. And again, you lost by TKO, and it was at the very end of the second round. And there was a lot of controversy about the way it ended because it was with less than 10 seconds left in the round that you got dropped, and then the referee came over and felt that you couldn't continue. Could you continue?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was winded. I'm not gonna say I wasn't tired. I had never been dropped in my life, so I remember it in slow motion. So I remember getting hit and then just falling and thinking like, shit, I gotta catch my legs, And I tried catching my legs and I couldn't catch them. And I was like, wow, I'm hurt, and it was all slow motion to me. I remember falling. I remember hearing the bell as I'm falling, and then thinking like, thank God the bell just rang because I just got dropped, and then hitting the floor, face planting, you would say, And then I was like, cool, round ended, my hands broke, I'm tired as hell, and I have one more round before winning this $100,000. I can run around and do whatever I got to do. So let me rest, catch as much breath as I can, or as much air as I can until my coaches come in. And then, then we're going to do one more round and, walk away with the, fat check. And, I thought, putting my hand behind my head was enough to say, like, hey, I'm chilling, like, what's up? And the referee came up and just looked at me and just called the fight. So, I mean, I thought he should have at least warned me, like, hey, get up or I'm going to call the fight. Like, or I thought, when the bell's done, it's done or something, but I guess, either I don't know the rules or he doesn't know the rules, but I think it was a shitty call.
And now, I watched the fight, and I guess everybody was under the same assumption, is that the referee said something to you. Obviously we don't have, they're not mic'd. I really think that that's something that MMA, all organizations start doing, is miking the referee so you can hear exactly what he's saying. But because everybody assumed that he asked you something and you didn't respond. Now, seeing you laying on the ground with your hand behind your head, it's like, okay. And then he must have said something, and then you didn't respond, and he called the fight. So you're telling me that he didn't say anything to you, he just looked at you, and he said, you're done.
Yeah, he didn't say anything to me. He looked at me, he waved his hand, and then I told him, like, what the hell? And he was like, no, fight's done. I was like, what do you mean fight's done? Like, there's another round. And he's like, no, you didn't get up. And I was like, well, you didn't tell me to get up. I didn't know. I don't think anywhere in the rule book says you have to get up. Like, I've seen people get pummeled, and then the bell ring, and the corners have to come and, like, drag them to their corner and put them on the stool, throw water on their face to wake them up, But I guess, on his discretion, I don't know if he thought that I was hurt or what, or just winded. I know I was extremely tired. I had wrestled for 2 rounds. My adrenaline, was going. My hand was broke, and and I just got dropped, and I hadn't been dropped ever. So it was like, all like a, clusterfuck. Sorry, but you know what I mean?
Right.
Going on in my head. So maybe I didn't look right. Maybe I didn't look right. Maybe he thought, it was his call to make the judgment that I didn't look, that I could continue. But I thought, putting my hands behind my head said enough. Like, hey, I'm tired, and I'm just going to rest here for a second. And that's the reason why I put my hands behind my head. I think if I was incoherent, I would have laid there the way I was, face down. But you know what I mean? And then if I was laying there face down, like the way I fell, and he came and called the fight, and then I tried to get up and, fight it, then I would understand. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. I was out, I'm not going to argue that. But, like, I rolled over, I put my hand behind my head, and I was trying to catch my breath, waiting for my corners to come in, which they didn't let in right away for some odd reason. I've never seen, corners or I've never seen them not open a gate right after the bell ring to let your corners in. Like, I've never seen that unless the doctor comes in to check the fighter, which the doctor did not come in to check the fighter. The ref just called it. Then after that, they let everybody in. So I don't know what's up with what was going on or what the deal was, but I feel like I got screwed, but I guess it's my fault for not getting up,
Now, there's been a lot of controversy with referees and their stopping, and it seems like sometimes because of that, what will happen is you'll see some fights go too long. You'll see fighters taking shots that they shouldn't take because referees are getting a little nervous about being questioned about whether or not they should have stopped the fight or they shouldn't have stopped the fight. Do you think there will ever be a happy medium there? Because obviously you feel like you got screwed, and from the way you're telling the story, you did get screwed. If you could have continued and the referee didn't ask, hey, can you continue? I think that should be the first thing a fighter should be asked. Hey, can you continue? But do you think there will ever be a happy medium with the referee and being able to on those judgment calls?
I definitely, I don't think so, to be honest. I mean, there's so many things that could go wrong in the MMA fight, from anything, from a eye gouge to grabbing the cage to whatever. You know what I mean? So I really don't think it's ever going to be a happy meeting, you know what I mean? Because there's always going to be something that's going to go wrong, and somebody's always going to disagree against something. Even you see people get knocked out cold and then wake up and disagree that they were knocked out until they have to go back and watch the tape. But I do think they should have instant replays, and I do think that they can't, you know, because once the referee makes a call in MMA, they stick to it. It's done. You can't change it. You have to go to the commission if you want to try to get it changed. But I do think they should change that and add an instant replay. So if the referee does make a wrong call, they can stop, go back, and look at the instant replay, have 3 judges on the side make, you know, their final decision on what happened, if they're going to go with the referee's decision or not. Because if it's a big decision like that, where it's costing people a lot of money, you know what I mean? It wasn't like I was fighting for $1,000. I was fighting for a lot of money. Not only that, I was fighting also for a fight show purse against Chandler, plus a win bonus against Chandler. So it wasn't just the money for the tournament. It was also money for the next fight, for a title fight. Not only that, it's for the World Championship, you know, fight, which is a huge fight, which some people never get in their lives. You know what I mean? So it's like, it wasn't just a bad call just based on the tournament. It was a bad call based on the future of my fighting, which I do think I'm going to get another chance to get there. But now I have to fight my ass off to get back to where I was, you know what I mean, on that streak that I was in. So I think, you know, it really, you know, screwed me. But, you know, so I think, you know, if they had like a instant replay, maybe they could come back and listen to it or whatever, you know, and then make a decision. I think it would be a lot better.
Now, that's an interesting take on it, because I have heard people talk about getting an instant replay going. And again, we're talking to Saad Awad here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. And I've heard people say, hey, let's get an instant replay. But now, the only problem that I have with the whole instant replay thing is, let's say that they go in, they look at the instant replay, and they say, you know, I mean, how would that have worked on in your case? Because if they go and look and say, oh, well, he didn't do anything, he could have kept going, and let's say it's like 5-10 minutes before they make this decision, you then have David Rickles saying, hey, wait a second, I heard him at the end of that round, and you guys gave him an extra 5 minutes, you know, 5-7 minutes to recover from that, and now it's I have a whole different fighter that I have against me.
You're absolutely right. But then if they didn't, since they don't have it, now David Rickles is sitting at home with a fat-ass check and waiting for his championship fight that I don't think he deserved when he lost 2 rounds and got a bad call and won the fight. You got to look at it that way also.
Right. You know what? I agree with you completely. And, you know, it's kind of a devil's advocate, you know, and I get where you're coming from. And I definitely feel bad for you in the sense of that, you know, if that fight could have continued, I felt you won the first round. You know, the second round, you were winning it throughout the entire second round until the whole dropping. And, you know, judges can be so weird. You know, I mean, look at this last weekend. I mean, I don't know if you saw the fights. They gave that fight to Rafael Dos Anjos, you know, even though Evan Dunham, basically, in my eyes, I thought he won all 3 rounds. So, I mean, either way, that should have went to a 3rd round, and that would have been something that we all would have loved, because you guys were having a good fight. I mean, it was a good fight. It was an entertaining fight. But honestly, it did seem, and you've said it, that you did start to fatigue late in the second round. I mean, do you think that that's not just because you broke your hand, but also because you had to fight 3 times in 3 months?
Kind of. I mean, also, I know why I started depleting, and I'm not considering give all the excuses in the world for it. You know what I mean? But if I was able to train better for the fight, you know what I mean? Because coming into the tournament, I wasn't even able to train the way I should have trained. But if I was able to train the way I should have trained, you know, I would have been in better condition, and I would have been able to, you know what I mean, to compete a lot harder. You know, so I think that had a lot to do with it. But about the fight in 3 months, I mean, you saw I fought a total of, you know, a little over a minute in 2 fights. So I don't think it really took anything from me besides, you know, the wearing down of the training, and you know, you do need breaks between training camps to kind of let your body recover just from the training, not even the fights. Like, I don't know how Rickles did it. He had 2 wars coming up into my fight. And he still, you know, managed to push through. He still pushes through every round like he does the first and second round, first, second, and third round. So, it's not just about the beating or whatever your body takes during the fight. I think, like you said, it's more about the training camp you have going into the fight and have to go through another training camp back to back, you know, 3 training camps.
Now, the fact that you guys in Bellator, when you guys go into tournaments, you have to fight like we've been talking here, that you got to fight 3 times, and obviously, the big issue right now that's coming up, and it came up again this weekend, is TRT. with Vitor Belfort beats Luke Rockhold, and instead of being able to relish in his victory, he has to start answering questions on the fact that he takes TRT. What are your thoughts on TRT? I mean, do you think it's okay? I know it's legal, but I mean, just from a personal, professional aspect, do you think that fighters should be allowed to use the exemption?
I personally don't think so. I mean, I know, some people are, they need it. You know what I mean? I think some fighters need it because they're they're not, they don't have it as much in their bodies as regular fighters do, so they need it just to compete at the level. You know what I mean? To be able to be even. But then again, any doctor can write any fighter a prescription to say that they need it. You know what I mean? Unless I think if the doctors at the UFC or whoever the organization is has their own doctors that are going to check you out and say, okay, we need to put you on this because it's not fair. You know what I mean? Then maybe it'll make sense. But I personally don't think I don't think it's fair. Everybody has problems that they have to deal with, whether it's with that or whether it's whatever it is. Some people are just slower than other people. You don't see them, taking some kind of drug just to make them faster. You know what I mean? Like mentally. So I don't think it's fair. I mean, I love Vitor Belfort. Don't get me wrong, he's my favorite fighter in the world. But I just don't think it's fair.
Right, yeah, and that's a lot. That's what a lot of fighters are saying. Luke Rockhold, his opponent, was a big proponent of saying that. Hey, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. Now, another drug that's been coming up, obviously, and been in the news a lot in the last couple of weeks is is marijuana. Obviously, Pat Healy. But, he tested positive for marijuana after his fight with Jim Miller. He got his fight bonus taken away. He got his submission of the night taken away. And Brian Caraway took the submission of the night, and he took a lot of heat over it. Let's put yourself in that position. You're in Brian Caraway's position. Would you have accepted the fight of the not the fight in there, but the submission of the night bonus, taking it away from a fighter who did test positive for marijuana, not any other drug, but marijuana?
To be honest, it's you know what I mean. It's hard to say. You got to put yourself in that position. I mean, if you're dead broke and somebody offers you a $65,000 check, like, hey, he screwed up for taking it from him or giving it to you, and everybody's gonna react different. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if you have money and it doesn't make that much of an effect on your life, and you see this guy that Pat Healy, time back in UFC, and he finally gets that big check, and you see it all get taken away from him, and if he's dead broke, I think the fair thing, at least fair thing, if anything, split it with the dude. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you deserved it. I know they took it away from you, but the way Caraway went off about it, and he was like, oh, I never smoked weed. I never did this. It's so bad. It's so this. So, when in reality, it's really not. You know what I mean? I don't smoke, but I just know it's not. And I don't think he should have went off and popped off in the mouth like the way he did just to make the other fighters look bad. Because a lot of people smoke weed because a lot of people need to smoke weed. Rather than taking Vicodins for pain or Norco, then becoming addicted to those painkillers, and then if you're not fighting anymore because you're addicted to painkillers, and we've all seen fighters go through it before, and then next people saying it's their fault for getting addicted to them, when in reality it's not, because they get injured fighting or whatever the reason is, so they decide to smoke weed so they don't get addicted to these pills. So it's kind of like, it depends how you look at it.
Do you think that marijuana should be taken off of the banned list?
I don't know, because if you smoke a lot of marijuana, it increases your mind. You know what I mean? It increases your training. Like, people that do smoke that don't actually fight, but they train, they say they could train for hours without getting tired while they're high or on marijuana. So I don't think it's fair. I don't think anything that's going to change your mental mind state is fair. If it's going to make you train longer or train harder than the average human being will, because it's not fair. Because I don't smoke. So, you know what I mean? I'm nothing against the people that do. If you need to and you have to because you're sick or you're ill or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Then so be it. That's your own reason. You know what I mean? But if you don't really need to and you're just doing it for fun and it's helping you, like kind of like taking steroids or therapy or whatever, then I think it's not fair. So I don't know. It depends how you look at it. Like, I'm not against it, but I wouldn't want some guy that's been smoking every day and full of cardio because he was smoking, believe it or not, and then he beats me because of that. It would suck,
Right. Again, we're talking to Saad Awad here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. Now, how is the rehab going with the broken hand? I mean, have you been able to start contact yet, or are you still rehabbing it?
You know what? I haven't got cleared yet, but I haven't been able to punch yet. But I started my cardio, and I after my hand, I got surgery on my nose too, because I guess my nose was broke. And I wasn't sure if it was broken. I just knew it hurt. And I went to the doctor. He was like, "Hey, you need surgery." So I ended up getting surgery on my nose too. So that's still healing too. So I started my cardio, but I haven't been able to roll or spar quite yet.
So do we know what's next for you? Has Bellator talked to you about what's up next? Or, I mean, do you have any clue, or are you just taking time right now and getting healthy?
Right now I'm just taking time getting healthy. I mean, they told me just be ready because we have something coming up in September, but they haven't told me exactly what yet because they can't release what yet, you know. And they said as soon as we get closer to the date, we'll let you know exactly what's going to happen, you know. But I know they just said make sure I'm ready by September, and I should be cleared, you know. I should be cleared soon, you know, probably the next week or two. I know I won't be cleared for my nose to take punches, but he did tell me I'll be able to, you know, do cardio and whatnot, so at least I get my wind up. My hand, hopefully I'll get cleared too within the next week or two. But, yeah, so hopefully in September. They didn't tell me exactly what, but should be something good.
Excellent, excellent. It would definitely be fun to see you in the ring again, Saad. I mean, I love watching you fight. You got some just really good striking. You have an overall great game, to be honest with you. I think you're underrated. I don't think that you get enough accolades that you deserve. And I'm really glad that things fell into place for you to get into the Season 8 lightweight tournament. Because then you got to showcase your skill set and be able to get into that prime time with Bellator and show people what you really have. And like I said, I'm really glad that you got that chance.
Oh, thank you. You know, I'm excited about it too. You know, it's bittersweet about, you know, breaking my hand, but it kind of reminded me that, hey, I don't have to just try to knock people out. I can go out there and I can wrestle, and I can show people that I can wrestle with one hand and still wrestle and manage to do good. And, you know, a lot of people were downing me. You know, even coming into the finals, a lot of people were saying, oh, you know, those are lucky hits, lucky this, lucky that, which, you know, it's not that I care so much what people say, but then again, it kind of does bug you when, you know what I mean, you have half the people saying, oh, well, you got a lucky punch, you got lucky this or lucky that. So I was kind of happy that I got to go in there, kind of showcase my wrestling, and, you know, I'm really looking forward to getting back in the ring and, you know, showcasing a lot more. You know, I have an awesome jiu-jitsu game that, you know, I would love to, you know, show off too, and you know, add to my arsenal.
Now, I tell you what, people who tell that you got lucky with those punches, there's two things that I would respond to them. And I know that you have to be, you know, careful how you react to people and fans and stuff like that, but there's two things that I would say to anybody who says that you got lucky. One, you can only get lucky so many times. When you start knocking people out in the first round, in the first minute, and it's up to like 5-6 times in your career, that's not luck. And if they say it's lucky, then you know what I tell them? You know what luck is? It's where hard work and opportunity meet. That's what it is. You put in the hard work and the opportunity was there. So if you want to call that luck, sure enough, then I guess that's luck. All right, we end the interview the same way every time, Saad. We end it with a 10-second knockout. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You just give me your one-word answers, and we're gonna get it going here. Are you ready?
Awesome, let's go.
All right. What's your favorite movie?
Pulp Fiction.
Favorite food?
Pasta. Pizza.
Pasta pizza, okay. Is it maybe pizza with pasta on top? All right.
Yeah. After weigh-ins, yeah.
What age did you get into your first fight?
I was scared to fight, man. I would say 14.
14, all right. If you could fight one historical figure, who would it be?
I don't know. I never thought about that.
I got you.
Yeah. You know, I like to fight Sean Shirk. He's not really historical, but...
Sean Shirk? That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I actually just interviewed him not too long ago.
It's because his fighting style, I like to fight him.
All right. If you were stranded on an island, what's the one item you would take with you?
Stranded on one water. Cell phone.
What was that?
Cell phone.
Well, your cell phone's not going to work on an island.
Oh, man.
But hey, at least you know what? You know what you'll have? You have the games. You got the games on the phone until it dies, and then now you have an...
I'm through.
All right. Say, thank you so much for coming on here and giving us the time here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. We always appreciate talking to fighters and the time that you give to us. And so what we do is, in return, we give the time right back to you. You take as much as you want, as much time as you want right now, Saad. You go ahead, thank your sponsors, thank your family, your friends, whatever you want. This time is yours, and you have as much as you want of it.
You know, I'm not going to take too much time. I just want to say thank you guys for, having me on. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to get my name out there. Before nobody was interviewing me, and, nobody knew who I was either. So, first off, I want to say thank you guys for taking the time to interview me. There's a million of fighters out there you guys could have interviewed. And also thanks to, my coaches down at Millennia, Romy and Batiste and all the guys over there and all my training partners over there, especially Georgie Karakhanyan, he's a big, name that's an unsigned talent that needs to be signed ASAP because, the kid's not getting any younger. And thanks to my family, for keep supporting me. I'm going to keep fighting and, keep doing what I do.
Hey, well said, Saad. I really appreciate it. I love talking to you. You're a well-spoken man, and I think that your accolades are coming, man, and you deserve it. You deserve every bit of it. You're a talented fighter, and I love watching you fight, and I can't wait to see you in the ring again.
Awesome. Thank you very much, man. I can't wait to interview you after my next win, too. I'll get interviewed by you after my next win also.
All right. That sounds great. You have an open invitation to come on Late Night Cageside anytime, brother.
All right. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. You have a good night.
All right. You too.
And that is Saad Awad from Bellator lightweight. He says he's 15-5. He's got a phantom win out there. Just amazing what this guy can do in the ring. He's fun to watch, entertaining fighter. It was unfortunate that his fight ended with a controversial loss against David Rickles in the Season 8 lightweight tournament. They were putting on a great fight. He felt that he won the first 2 rounds. Getting dropped the way he got dropped in the end of the second round might have stolen the round for David Rickles. Either way, though, it would have been decided in that 3rd round. And, to take that opportunity away from somebody, a $100,000 check, and like he said, not just a $100,000 check, but an opportunity to fight, Chandler, to fight for the bonuses and everything that that came with that victory. To take that away from him in a controversial loss, it's just really unfortunate. But like I said, he's a talented fighter, and this isn't me just blowing smoke out there. I really think that he's a fun fighter to watch. Watch some of his old fights, man, on YouTube. Look him up. He's fun to watch. He's entertaining. He's skilled. He's got an all-around great game. Again, that was Saad Awad here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com Radio, and we really appreciate him taking the time to talk to us. We've had a great show with you guys tonight. Again, we talked to Brett Hlavacek. We talked to Saad Awad. Both amazing interviews. We learned a lot of things about those two fighters, and I'm totally stoked to see, again, Saad Awad get into the ring again, get into the octagon. Oh, sorry, I almost said that. Get into the cage again, and definitely I'm totally stoked for June 22nd with Glory 9 and Brett Hlavacek against Pat Morford. That's going to be a great Muay Thai kickboxing fight. So what I want to do now is I want to break down the upcoming event that's coming up here on UFC 160. This is an amazing card. I don't know if you guys have been, looking into this. After April, everybody just had like such a UFC dump on us. I mean, it's like every weekend there was a UFC event. It was amazing. It was just really, really amazing and fun a fun month to watch. What was even better is that we got to see an event every single weekend, and they were good events, every single one of them. Fun to watch. And so then we had to wait. We had to wait like 3 weeks, since the last one. We got to see the UFC on FX8, and then we got to see the Vitor Belfort spinning heel kick. It was not a bad card, the UFC on FX this last weekend. It was an entertaining card, not a lot of superstars, but this is the one, man. This UFC 160. This is going to be an event, man. It's got a bunch of great fights, and I'm going to break it down here for you guys. The fights I like here, I'm only going to talk about 2 of the fights on the prelims, 1 fight on each of the Facebook and on FX. So my Facebook fight that I want to see and I'm definitely looking forward to is Brian Bowles versus George Roop. This fight is going to be, I think this fight ends early. I don't see it going the full 3 rounds. Bowles is coming back after just, 2 years. It's been 2 years since we've seen this guy fight. This is the guy that ended Miguel Torres's, dominance. This is the guy that knocked out who a lot of people felt was one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world. Knocked him out, knocked him cold. And now, since then, broke his hand against Dominic Cruz, couldn't continue. Won a couple fights after that, after his hand got healed, and came back and fought, Uriah Faber. Lost him at UFC 139 due to a submission. And then he's had 2 years off almost, trying to get back from injuries. Now, Roop, it's only been 2 months since we last saw him fight. Now, he beat Ruben Duran at UFC 158. Now, he's 13-9. I mean, this guy needs a win to stay on the roster. I know he's coming off a victory, and I know a loss usually you don't, but 13-9, the loss puts him at 13-10. He's an exciting fighter to watch, but if Brian Bowles puts him down and knocks him out, I think George Roop gets his walking papers. My prediction for this fight, Brian Bowles is going to knock him out. I think he knocks him out in the first or second round, and he gets the victory and gets his career back on track, back into title contendership. FX fight. This is going to be the one. I know there's a couple FX fights that are actually looking pretty good, but this one right here, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Abel Trujillo. This is a great fight, and I don't think it's getting the kind of play it should be getting, and I don't think it's getting it because Nurmagomedov is just. I mean, he's a prospect. He's from Russia. He's not as big a name as people want. Plus, it's hard to say his last name. But he's 19-0. The guy hasn't lost. He's 3-0 in the UFC. His last fight, he knocked out Thiago Tavares at UFC on FX7. This guy's a great fighter. Now, he wanted to fight Nate Diaz after his last fight, but that was a little too much. I don't think the UFC was going to do that for him, even though he's 3-0 and basically dominated his fights. I don't see I just don't think they're going to do that for him. Now, Trujillo, this guy need Marcus Levasseur out of the UFC. I mean, out. And it was a makeshift matchup at the UFC on Fox 5. Now remember, this fight was seriously made on the day of the weigh-ins because Trujillo's opponent, Tim Means, he was trying to lose weight and he knocked himself out by falling in the sauna. Now that brought his victory after he knocked out Levasseur. That brought his victory winning streak to 5. So this is going to be a good fight. This is definitely going to be a good fight. Either Trujillo is going to put the Nurmagomedov talks to rest, like this guy is not as good as everybody thinks he is, or Nurmagomedov is going to show the world that he is definitely worthy of title contendership. My prediction in this fight is that Nurmagomedov is going to win this fight. I believe that he's going to win the fight in the second round. I want to say TKO. I do. I definitely want to say that because this guy's got power in both hands, and he's got a good game. So I'm taking Nurmagomedov in the second round, TKO. That takes us to the main card. This main card is definitely worthy of a main card event. It's got superstars galore. You're going to start off with Donald Cerrone versus KJ Nunes. This is a big fight for both guys. If Nunes loses, he's going to get his walking papers. I mean, he's a name, and he's fun to watch, but he's not consistent enough to say that I'm worthy of being in the UFC. He loses to Donald Cerrone, he's getting cut. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Now, Donald Cerrone's kind of in an awkward position. He wins a lot of fights in a row, and then he loses the big one. A lot of people call those kind of people chokers. I don't want to say Donald Cerrone is a choker. I don't want to say that because I think Donald Cerrone is a talented fighter. He's one of my favorite fighters to watch. He's aggressive. He's very slick with his striking, and he's got a very underrated submissions skill set as well. I definitely see this fight probably going the distance, possibly, but at the same time, my prediction for the fight is Donald Cerrone is going to get the victory, and I'm going to say that he gets the victory by a unanimous decision. And that's going to take us to the Gray Maynard versus TJ Grant fight. Now, this is for the lightweight division. Possible title contender shot? I don't know. Everything that's going on with Anthony Pettis, moving around to featherweight, back up to lightweight, saying he wants to go for whatever. These two guys are right in the mix of it. Now, even though Gray Maynard hasn't fought in over a year because of injuries, his last fight, as you know, was against Clay Guida, one of the snore fests of the MMA history. Wasn't really fun to watch. It's where Clay Guida decided to start not fighting in fights. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Clay Guida, but it just seems like for some reason he went away with what's made him who he is today, and that's going forward and pushing the pace and just charging after guys. It's not like he's been knocked out and he needs a change and start going, in and out. But that's another night. But so Gray Maynard is taking on TJ Grant. Now TJ Grant is really starting making a name for himself here. He's won. It looks like he's won like 3 or 4 fights in a row. His last fight, he knocked out Wyman at UFC on Fox 6 with a vicious elbow in the first round that knocked him out. I mean, it was big time, man. TJ Grant is a beast. He's a beast at lightweight, and this should be one of the better fights in the night. Now, if Gray Maynard can get over the fact that he hasn't fought in over a year, which I don't think is going to be an issue for him, I see Gray Maynard winning this fight. I don't think it's going to get a finish, though. I see Gray Maynard doing his normal routine of taking down TJ Grant, pounding him out, controlling him on the ground. I see Gray Maynard winning this fight with a split decision. That takes us to the light heavyweight of Glover Teixeira versus James Tehuna. Now, Tehuna, as you remember, was in that UFC on Fuel TV 7 comeback against Ryan Jimmo, where he got rocked in the first round, put down by Jimmo, but Jimmo couldn't finish him. And so then the second and the third round, all of a sudden you saw Tehuna coming back. It was a really good, a really great fight for him, and something that was amazing to watch and fun to watch. Now, Glover Teixeira, obviously, his last fight was on the UFC on Fox 7 in January against Quentin Jackson in his last fight. And Glover Teixeira, he stood with him, showed that he's got the chin, and showed that he's got the striking ability to hang in the light heavyweight. This is definitely going to be a test for Glover Teixeira. He's going to take on a guy that has power in both hands. He's not like Quentin Jackson, where he's not going to take you down. You got to worry about the takedown in this fight. And so, in this fight, it's going to be a great fight to watch. I see Glover Teixeira taking this victory, though, and honestly, I see Glover Teixeira taking him out in the second round by knockout. He will finish him, unlike Ryan Jimmo couldn't. That takes us to the co-main event. Junior Dos Santos versus Mark Hunt. Someone's going to sleep in this fight. This fight will not go the distance. This fight may not even get out of the first round. Now, Junior Dos Santos has got a chin. He showed that against Cain Velasquez. All right, he showed that at UFC 155 because he took a beating, man. He took a beating in that fight. Took a lot of big shots, but was able to weather the storm. And unfortunately for him, he just couldn't get his feet underneath him and get back into the rhythm of the fight to come back and make any sort of a comeback in that fight to try and win the title, or keep the title, I should say, retain it. What's going to happen now, though, is Mark Hunt, he's not a guy that's going to take you down. He's not a guy that's slick. He's all power, man. He's going to come forward. He's the Samoan Rhinoceros. I don't care what his real name is, what his real nickname is, but that's what he is. He's going to charge forward. He's going to throw punches at you, and hopefully he's going to take you out. He may throw in a takedown here and there just to throw you off your game, like what he did against Stefan Struve, but I don't see him doing much of that. I see him just standing toe-to-toe with Junior Dos Santos, because Junior's got some great takedown defense, and I just don't think Mark Hunt's going to be able to take him down. If Cain Velasquez couldn't take him down and hold him down for very long, I don't see Mark Hunt being able to do the same. This is a tough fight for me to call, because I really like Mark Hunt, and I really like JDS at the same time. I think both these guys have really, really big power, and both of them they're just fun fighters to watch, nonetheless. But I think JDS takes this one. I think that he's not going to knock him out. I'm going to give him the unanimous decision victory. I think he takes it the whole way to all 3 rounds. This is a fight you wish you could see 5 rounds. That's what's going to happen at the end of this fight. You're going to be like, man, I wish there was 2 more rounds. That takes us to the main event of the night. This is going to be Cain Velasquez versus Antonio Silva. This is a rematch from UFC 146 where Cain Velasquez destroyed Antonio Silva. Destroyed him. It wasn't even close. It was right after he had lost to JDS, came back, just beats him. Beats him. We never saw Antonio Silva get beat like this. Never. Okay? This guy got dominated. He looked like he didn't even deserve to be in the UFC. So what does Antonio Silva do? He comes back. He wins 2 straight fights by knockout. Knocks out Overeem and knocks out Travis Brown. 2 big-time contenders in the heavyweight division. That earned him a title shot. There's no doubt that Antonio Silva deserves this title shot. The question is he better than when he was against him in the first time in UFC 146? Is he a better fighter? Has he changed his skill set? Is he more well-rounded? Is he going to be able to stop the takedowns? Is he going to be able to get away from Cain Velasquez from the ground and pound? I don't think so. I think this fight goes the exact same way it does in UFC 146. I see Cain Velasquez TKOing Antonio Silva in the first round, and that there's just no doubt about that. And that's going to be the UFC 160, and that's going to do it for us tonight here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com Radio. We had a great show for you guys tonight. Unfortunately, as you guys know, we didn't get to go live. For some reason, we had some issues, so this is all going to be archived, and you'll have to listen to it on tape delay. And that's just too bad. I'm kind of sad about that, because this was a really great night, and it was really fun to It was really fun to talk to Brett Hlavacek and Saad Awad. You guys definitely, I hope you guys listen to this in the archive history. Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio every Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch it right here only on BJPenn.com. Again, I'm your host, Tony Camps.